When I was told I was going on a trip of a lifetime, I couldn't contain my excitement. I couldn't sit still. I couldn't stop smiling. I couldn't wait to be captured into a world of churros and cobblestone streets. I went to Spain during the summer before my senior year. We traveled all over the country to cities including Barcelona, Madrid, and Sevilla. I saw beautiful cathedrals and mosques, stunning landscapes, and towns that looked like they were plucked straight out of a fairy tale. But even though I was on a trip I only thought possible in my dreams, throughout the course of the week, I had 4 panic attacks and 2 mental breakdowns. And I slipped into one of my deepest depressions ever. I look back through the hundreds of photos, and all I see is gray. The photos posted on Instagram show a happy Samantha, a thankful Samantha, a grateful Samantha. But the photos don't show the bus trips where I sat alone, the heavy breathing on every metro ride brought on by claustrophobia, and locking myself in the hotel bathroom so I could have 10 minutes of quiet. And of course I was confused about why I was experiencing this feeling of gloom, but more than anything, I felt guilt. I felt so guilty. For months, my parents worked extra hours, I took extra shifts, I saved all of my tips, and I only spent money on gas. I should have been having the time of my life. I should have been joining my friends when they went out at night. I should have been dancing to the music. I should have been happy. I should have been content. So why did I feel sad? Why did I feel gray? Why did I feel numb? Don't get me wrong, I was aware that I was in one of the most beautiful countries in the world, and I was joyful. But there was this constant looming feeling of melancholy. I've dealt with depression for years, and for the most part, I've had some sort of justification for why I couldn't get out of bed, wash my hair, or brush my teeth for a full 2 minutes. And the reasons ranged from moving states right before my freshman year of high school to being the most introverted introvert. For so long, I thought I needed grounds to feel this sense of despondency, and that my reasons weren't valid enough. I have a roof over my head, a loving family, and a decent job. Why should I feel sad? I kept telling myself that there are others who have more adequate reasons for their gloom. But this method of thinking started to become more toxic than the depression itself. I started to think that because my reasons were valid enough, no one should know, and that I don't deserve to feel this way. If I could tell my younger self anything, I would tell her that what she feels, has felt, and will feel is okay. She doesn't need to always have the answers. She doesn't need to put up walls and a brave face when she doesn't have the answers. And sometimes saying, I am sad, is the answer. I realized it does no one good to keep it all locked away. That in order to heal our broken wounds, we must first look at what causes us to feel this overwhelming sense of sorrow, and then ask ourselves a response. So why do I do it? Why do I put myself in situations where I know I'm not going to be happy, or where I feel like I'm going to sink to the bottom of the floor? Do I do it to feel conventional? To make my parents worry less about their solitary daughter? Or maybe it's because when I do these extroverted things, like going on trips with large groups of people, or giving TED Talks, the offer of an incredible experience often outweighs the dread and panic that comes in a package deal. The things that do fill my life with joy, however, are not followed by long periods of depression. The books I read, the parkway drives I take, and the stories I write don't lead to overwhelming sense of anguish. Instead, they result in peace, relief, and bliss. But this road to realizing that depression doesn't have a finite box that it needs to fit in hasn't been easy, and it's a war I battle every day. And I'm not the only one. In 2021, over 280 million people reported signs of depression. People all over the world sit on the same bench that I do. We wake up in the morning just wanting to go back to sleep. We walk through the day motionless and numb. Our pain might not always be physical, but it is most definitely real. Which led me to wonder, why are we avoiding the topic of depression? But in order to understand why we dance around depression, we must first look at what depression truly is. As defined by the American Psychiatric Association, depression, or major depressive disorder, is a common yet serious mental illness that can negatively affect the way we feel, how we think, and how we act. Depression can lead to prolonged sadness, a loss of interest or enjoyment in one's favorite activities, and troubles with sleeping, either sleeping too little or too much. But the symptoms and/or effects can be infinite, because there's many layers to depression, and every single person who suffers from it has a different experience. Over time, people have tried to explain depression through science, many calling it a chemical imbalance. But it is so much more than someone having more or less of a certain chemical. Mood regulators, genetic vulnerability, taxing life events, and social and physical environment all can play a role into why someone has depression. People with the illness can often have hard times completing everyday tasks, including personal hygiene and eating healthy meals. And this can cause a stigma to gather around depression. This stigma implies that people with depression can't hold down a sturdy job or a healthy relationship, and that we're sad all the time. And yes, this might be true for some of us, but for many, we are capable of living functional lives. For example, and this is totally not based on someone I know extremely well, people who fight the battle day after day can make stellar grades and get accepted into colleges and plan for a future where we know we can be truly happy. Nevertheless, the stigma can make it hard for people with depression to talk to others about their struggle. We as a society have created the stigma, yet are unaware of the harmful effects it causes. People with depression can have a hard time connecting with others. People sometimes will have a lack of understanding, or they don't even try to understand. And people with depression, they can sometimes think that they'll never be able to succeed and that they'll be broken forever. But I know that there is good in this immense, imperfect, and beautiful world. And that if you feel broken, I encourage you to find the glue. I encourage you to find what makes you whole and incandescently happy. It is important for us to find what makes us want to melt into a state free from worry. But it is also important for us to talk about depression and talk about the struggle so many of us face in silence. We live our lives to be able to overcome obstacles, each day equaling another chance. So live your life to the fullest. Don't be afraid to take up space. And remember that it is okay not to feel okay. Thank you.